Welcome to Raw Body Fit Full Body Circuit Routine B. We're starting off with 28 high knees. So let's pump those knees up high, pump the arms, use your abdominals, and keep your abs tight. There'll be 6 exercises. We'll be decreasing the repetitions as we go through 3 sets. You can count out your repetitions for yourself or just follow the video. Pause the video at any time for water breaks. 24 traveling squats will be next. So let's sit down deep. Start with your feet about hip width apart and your knees hip width apart. And then step out to just wider than shoulder width apart. Not too wide, and you always want to make sure that your knees are lined up over your feet so they're not caving into one another. And you'll travel across for 4 squats and then go in the opposite direction for 4. And you're giving 24 total traveling squats. Sit back through your hips and keep your torso somewhat upright. You do lean forward a little bit, but imagine there's a wall in front of you and your forehead can't be touching that wall. The wall is just 2 inches in front of the feet. Stay as low as you can. Try not to move the hips up and down and feel that burn through the quadriceps. After 24 traveling squats, we're going to move into 20 large hurdles. So you're jumping over a high hurdle, 1 foot at a time, and then touching down. Reach up high, extend through the body, and reach through the arms, and then drop your hips low and touch the floor around the feet. Get those knees lifting high, lift from your hips, and feel your abdominals engaged. If this feels too difficult, you can take out the touchdown. Just hop over and hop right back over a hurdle without actually squatting down quite so deep. The next move will be alternating single leg bridges. We'll perform 16 of those, either alternating single leg or double. You can perform whichever you choose, and we'll demonstrate both for you to see. Continuing on with the large hurdles though, finish off strong. Once you get to the end of 20, we'll take it down onto the floor. So sitting down, we'll point the fingers towards the heels. You're going to place your knees over top of your heels, and at the top of your move, you're going to have your knees bent to about 90 degrees. So we're demonstrating here on the left side of the screen the double leg bridges. You have the option of either kicking up alternating legs. 1 repetition is 1 rep on the right and 1 on the left. Or it's with 2 feet staying down and you're thrusting your hips up high. You try to create a straight line from your shoulders to your hips to your knees. At the end of 16 repetitions, we're moving on to frog jumps, a little bit of power cardio move for 12. Keeping your elbows very straight on the bridges. And standing tall for the frog jumps. We'll press those knees wide and reach right down between the knees to touch the floor. Jump 1 to the front, 1 to the back for 1 repetition. Jumping forward and back and sitting deep into a squatted position as you touch down to the floor. So you can see that the spine is very straight rather than rolling forward from the shoulders. Power up, jump high. As you jump forward, jump back, and think of straightening out through the hips and knees and reaching up from the shoulders. The next move is a core exercise. It's a plow to outstretched legs. So lying flat on your back, head down, arms by your sides. We'll pull the navel in deep to the spine and reach up, feet towards the sky or ceiling. With the navel drawn in, slowly flatten out the spine and stretch your legs out from your hips. The lower your heels are to the floor in that outstretched position, the more of a challenge it's going to be for the core. So judge for yourself how low you want to take your heels. You want to maintain a neutral position through the lower back once you get those legs outstretched, which means there's a very slight arch in your lower back. It's not completely flat to the floor, but at the same time, you're avoiding an excessive arch in the lower back. If you feel that lower back really arching up, you've gone too low with your heels. You want to keep your abdominals cinched in and find a spot for those legs to stretch out that feels that you can still control that lower back position. We're going for 12 repetitions here. If you find that this is a bit difficult on your neck, you shouldn't be getting right up into a shoulder stand position, but just keep your hips a little bit lower if you have any discomfort in the neck region. This brings us to the end of our first set. If you need a water break, now is a good time to pause the video. And when you're ready, let's go for it for 24 high knees. This is set number 2. Let's make it a little bit more intense if you can, especially on the power or cardio type moves. So here on the high knees, really pump it out, crank it out. 24 high knees, abs engaged. Then moving into 20 traveling squats, where we travel 4 steps to the right and 4 steps to the left, for a total of 20. Feet and knees start about hip width apart or even a tiny bit closer, and then step about 6 inches out to the side. The knees will push out wide so that you're lining up those knees with the 3rd and 4th toes. You want to keep your hips low to the ground. There's no movement up and down through the hips. Remember, there's that wall in front of you, and you're trying to keep your forehead behind the wall. If this is too much of a challenge for your quadriceps, you're just going to lift your hips up a little bit higher. You'll find a spot for yourself that feels about right. And the abdominals are tight and the shoulders are pulled back. Next move will be the hurdles. So 16 large hurdles. Get those knees up high, get the feet high, lifting way up over a high hurdle and touching down. 1 repetition to the right and back to the left. And remember, if this gets to be too challenging, just shorten up on that squat down. You don't have to actually touch the floor if it gets to be too difficult. Remember always, we're keeping the abdominals tight. Breathing. We'll take water breaks as we need, so pause the video at any time. We'll be taking it down to the floor next for 12 alternating single leg bridges or 12 double leg bridges. The choice is yours. Again, point your fingers towards your feet. Your knees will be stacked over your heels, so that when you thrust your hips up high, you'll have a 90-degree bend at the knees, or at least the knee that's supporting you if you're not doing the double leg. Your elbows remain straight, and focus on that squeeze of the gluteal muscles as you thrust up high, driving into your heels. But the feet can flatten to the floor. You don't have to actually lift your toes. Try to get into a tabletop pose so that your shoulders, hips, and the knees are in one straight line at the top of the move. We'll be moving into frog jumps for 10 after the bridges. With the feet and knees about hip width apart, you'll jump forward and jump back. Think of pushing your knees a little bit wide as you sit down deep into a squat. Make sure they don't cave into one another. And try to drop your hips low so you can touch right down to the floor with a straight spine as opposed to hunching over and rounding out through the back. After 10 frog jumps forward and back, we'll move down to the floor again, lying flat on our backs, and it will be a plow to outstretched legs for 10. So let's lie flat, head down, arms resting by our sides. And you'll kick the legs up high to go into a plow position, but more of a vertical plow as opposed to reaching your feet behind your head, as they do in yoga. And then kick those legs out straight and strong. Pull your navel in deep to your spine. Take it slow on this set. Pull the knees back into the body before you kick up high, reaching the toes up towards the sky or ceiling. And make sure as the legs stretch out that you're not allowing the lower back to arch. If you find that it's lifting through your lower back excessively, you want to kick those legs up a little bit higher. Don't drop them quite so low to the ground. So once you bring those legs outstretched, you want a neutral spine. There is a tiny arch in your lower back, a neutral lower back curve, but nothing more excessive than that. Feel that corset, which is wrapped around your waist, that muscle, the transverse abdominis, cinching in through all sides, through all points of the waistline. And this will bring us to the end of our second set. It will be a good time to take a water break after this exercise if you need one. Pause the video and then go into your high knees for 20 reps. Last set coming up. Let's give it all we've got for this third and final set. 20 high knees, pumping the arms and driving those legs up high, driving up the thighs, using the abdominals to lift from the hips. After 20, we'll move on to traveling squats. 16. 4 to the right, 4 to the left, for 16 repetitions in total. And again, knees are pushing out over the third and fourth toes. Once you step out, you'll hold the position. It's just a few inches you're stepping out. So the knees and toes and feet are about shoulder width apart and then coming in closer to each other. Let's keep the hips low to the ground, keep a long and straight spine, just a slight forward hinge from the hips. Keeping the hips as low as you can so that you can challenge your quadriceps sufficiently, but keep proper form through the torso. And let's go to 12 large hurdles, touching down to the floor, jumping high. Reaching up high with the arms, and then dropping the hips low. Keep again the spine straight and long. Don't roll it forward through the lower back and through the shoulders. Keep it tall. We'll be moving down to the floor again for single leg bridges, 10 repetitions, or double leg if you need to. Again, now we're going to keep the elbows locked straight, fingertips pointing towards the heels, and either lift one leg as you thrust up the hips or give both hips thrusting up at the same time with the glutes engaged, 2 feet down as you can see on the left side of your screen. The hips go up as high as possible, so you're trying to get a tabletop pose, shoulders, hips, and knees in one straight line at the top of the move. And then we'll move on to frog jumps for 8. Knees are pushing out wide as you sit down deep with that straight spine. And a big jump, hop it up, straighten out through the hips, the knees, reach from the arms. And then our final exercise for this routine, this 14-minute routine, will be on the floor, plow position to outstretched legs. So abdominals are pulled in nice and tight. Reach your feet up high to the sky, ceiling. Keep that navel drawn in as you slowly take the spine flat to the floor. Again, remembering to maintain a slight arch in your lower back so it's a neutral spine once you're flat to the floor. And then the legs are kicked out, heels pressing gently towards one another as the arms are reaching up. We're going for 8 repetitions, and that will bring us to the end of our routine. If this feels challenging on the neck, just keep that range of motion for the plow a little bit smaller too. You don't have to lift the hips up too high. And we're finishing off with one last repetition, plow to outstretched legs. And that's a job well done. Routine has been completed. Congratulations. Join us again at Raw BodyFit.